Okay, we're joined by the 2018 Masters champion, Patrick Reed, in the interview room. Patrick, you've had a fantastic year so far. How much confidence does that give you going into this week at the Open?
You know, I feel good. I feel like the game's where it needs to be, and just trying to get a little bit more and more comfortable with the place on landing the ball short and letting it run. So, I feel good. Just can't wait for the week to get started and hopefully go out and have a good tournament.
And a different kind of test for you this week in links golf?
It is. You can hit the same club 3 different ways and get completely different numbers on all 3. So, you really have to be not only control your golf ball, but also control the flights and control of what you're trying to do out there. Because, you barely miss hit a golf shot. If you catch a little thin or you hit a little lower, it could literally maximize the misses by just running forever. So, it's a true test on who's hitting the ball the best, who has full, complete control of their golf game, and depending on what the wind does and how the greens end up, if they end up firmer than where they are now, it's going to also test your mental game.
Okay, well, thanks. We'll take questions from the floor. If you can raise your hand, we'll get a microphone to you. John?
Patrick, is this kind of golf the best test of golf?
I think it's definitely up there. It just it all depends on what Mother Nature brings to you. If it's blowing kind of consistently like 15, 20 miles an hour, I would say it's a really good test. But, it really all depends, because if you play this golf course when there's no wind, you're going to see some low scores, especially with how firm and fast the fairways are playing. The greens are a little on the softer side, so you're able to kind of attack with wedges. But, if I would say if the wind starts blowing, then it's definitely a big test on all aspects of the game, because you have so many different kind of golf shots.
Next question, please.
Patrick, why do you think you're a better links player now than when you first started your career?
I think the biggest thing is I've played more rounds. I've been more experienced with it. It's just hard to, being from the States, it's hard to, just fathom and think about that, okay, I have 260. I can just hit kind of like a 90% 6-iron. It's going to get there. Back home, 260, you're hitting 3-wood. You're flying at 250, 248, and it's going to, land pretty soft and stop. And, today, for example, like on hole 16, I was just kind of messing around and hit my first 6-iron onto the green. It landed 20 yards short of the green, rolled up, just barely stopped short of the ridge in the middle of the green, and kind of rolled back down onto the front part of the green. And I was like, oh, so I just dropped a ball in the tee box, and I literally chipped it, hit it maybe 70% and hit it head high, and landed it about 100 yards short of the green, and got it 3 yards past the flag in the middle of the green. And, it went 40 yards farther than a stock 6-iron. And so I think that's the biggest thing is, for me, earlier, his first couple years, when I hear those numbers, 230 to the flag, and I'm sitting there going, oh, well, I have to hit 7-iron or soft 6-iron. Subconsciously in your mind, you're sitting there going, oh, it's not going to get there. So you kind of jerk at it, and all of a sudden your swing breaks down a little bit. And, now I'm just kind of accepting it, and I think that's gotten a little bit more comfortable with doing it. So, it's come a little bit easier, especially down the stretch and, in tournament play.
Okay, Ewan at the back.
So, Patrick, you've probably, over the last 12 months, you've probably got the best major record around. How are you managing to maintain that? Because, winning the Masters, for example, a lot of people would expect that would take an awful lot out of you in terms of your energy. So how are you managing to maintain it in the majors?
I think the biggest thing is I treat them like they're normal events. I've always kind of gone in the majors, put too much pressure on myself, having to go play well, have to go do this, have to make birdie here. And now I just kind of go in there and just kind of go play golf and try to keep it in the mindset of, hey, it's just another day on the golf course. Let's just go play. And I've been able to stay in that mindset the past 3. And, I've played pretty well in all 3 of them. So, that's all I'm going to try to do this week is just continue improving on the things Coach and I are working on. And from there, just have fun with it and go out and play golf and see how far I can hit some of the irons off the tees into fairways. See if, just kind of have fun and try to play creative golf, because I think that's what it's going to take around here.
Yeah, and secondly, you've spoken about the good relationship you've got with the fans over here. Do you feel you're more appreciated over in Scotland and in the UK than you are back home?
I mean, it's different. Back home, back home's home. I mean, you have a lot of fans, a lot of support at home, but when you come over here and when you go overseas, especially after 2014 Ryder Cup at Glen Eagles, when I shushed the crowd, you would have thought I'd come over here and have a lot of kind of mixed reviews from people. And they seemed to really get behind me just because they saw the passion I had, not only for the game, but also for my country and golf. And the more I started talking to some of the fans, the more I started paying a little bit more attention to football and stuff. You see how passionate they get with their team, who are out there, grinding and are playing for their country and everything. And I think they really enjoy that. And I think that's the reason why they got behind me. And I always love coming over here because of the fans. It's awesome to be around.
Have you got a football team yet?
I mean, not one that's good enough to play in the World Cup.
Next question in the middle, please.
Patrick, can you just explain your thinking as far as going without an equipment sponsor? What made you want to go with a mixed bag, and how big of a risk was it?
I was fortunate enough to be able to team up with Nike, and I've always loved Nike with their clothing, and I've just loved the brand in general, and to be able to get back and be with Nike, and it freed me up to give me that kind of opportunity that if I wanted to take the risk to mix up the golf bag, not go with a manufacturer, I kind of just sat down with my wife and my team, and I was like, hey, well, even though we're not going to have any of that kind of security with having a manufacturer, at the same time, if I feel like I have the 14 best clubs in my golf bag for my game, as well as the best golf ball, who knows how many shots that could save. And in the long run, that I'm going to earn more on the golf course than I am off the golf course from a manufacturer. And it was definitely a risk, and it was a risk that my wife and I thought was a risk that we were worth taking, since we had a great team, and being able to team up with Nike. And, it's worked really well.
Have offers been pouring in since the Masters? And if so, do you think you'll eventually take one of them?
We'll have to wait and see. I don't really look into all that stuff during the years. I let that kind of happen at the end of the year. So my agent, he handles all that kind of stuff. And, I just focus on playing golf. And then once the off season comes, that's when I sit down and kind of think about that stuff. But, right now, I feel really good with where the bag is and what we're doing. And, I would hate to kind of try and mix that up and, derail the game or anything like that because of having to use certain things rather than going out and just playing with what I feel most comfortable with.
Okay, next question in the front.
Patrick, could you share a little bit the difference in what it felt for you driving on a Monday, hoping to get into a PGA Tour event, to driving down Magnolia Lane with a green jacket on your back?
Well, I haven't driven down Magnolia Lane yet with the green jacket on, so it's just kind of a feeling of kind of satisfaction, knowing that all the hard work that we've put in and the way we kind of got started was kind of chasing the Mondays, kind of how they did in the olden days, and having sleepless nights on Sundays because you're driving from one event to the Monday stop, and next thing you know, being able to get your card that year and winning the following season, and now all of a sudden sitting here being a major champion, winning the green jacket, it just it just shows the hard work, dedication that not only myself had, but my team and my wife had as well. Since my wife was the one that had the stable job, she with 2 bachelor's degrees and having that stability for us, and just being like, what, I'll caddy for you. I'm like, well, that's nice, but we don't have there's no security there. She's like, it's all right, we'll be okay. And so for her to believe in me and knowing how hard we've been working and being out there, and now all of a sudden where we are at this point, and it's just, I just know that we're on the right path and what we're doing is the right thing, and that we just need to keep grinding and keep on going, and hopefully add a claret jug and a bunch, and all the majors as well, and hopefully win the career Grand Slam at some point.
Next question in the back, number 4, please.
Patrick, you're among a growing string of US major winners. I think it goes back 5 in a row now. What sort of message would it send ahead of the Ryder Cup if it was to become 6 this week?
You know, I mean, I think it would send a good message. I mean, I feel like our team is improving. I feel like the difference between 14 and 16 was not only the process it was to get the team put together, but also I felt like the focus and determination between our team as a unit was a lot stronger. You know, and it's one of those things that if you have all of us out there on either team, if any of the guys, if you have all 12 guys, you know, in unison and focusing really hard and kind of grinding and, you know, very determined and kind of working as one unit, they're going to be hard to beat no matter what, whether it's our team or it's their team. And I felt like we finally have kind of grasped that, you know, family unit that the Europeans have had since who knows how long. I mean, they every time I'm over here playing on both tours, the guys are always going out and eating together. They're always hanging out with each other during the tournament weeks, and you don't see that much as much in the States because you know, everyone's traveling with their families and stuff. And I feel like we finally clicked and we figured out the right kind of mold for 2016 and, you know, moving forward. So, you know, if we can continue that run on winning the big tournaments and stuff and keeping them in the States, it's going to help. You know, it's going to help our psyche, and it's also going to kind of hopefully get in the heads of the Europeans a little bit that, hey, we're all playing pretty well and we're coming.
Next question on the right in the middle there.
Patrick, how close are you to formulating a game plan this week, and how difficult is it to do so knowing that you may have to throw out everything depending if the conditions change?
Well, I mean, I have a game plan for soft conditions, firm conditions, into the winds, downwinds, side winds on every hole. So my game plan's set. I'm ready to go. I'm just, you know, just staying loose and, you know, making sure that I'm hitting the golf shots I'm supposed to be hitting on the golf course, and, you know, just fine-tuning the golf swing and, you know, just making sure everything's tight and where it needs to be. But, you know, it's pretty easy playing this place when it's really firm and fast, and it's very easy to tell into the wind and downwind kind of where you want to leave the ball. And so for me, I know there's going to be, I mean, there's 5,000 different ways to play these holes out here, but for me, it was pretty clear cut on how to play each hole. Maybe, you know, there's only, I think, 3 or 4 holes out there that it's one way or another, and that's all going to depend on kind of how I'm hitting certain clubs that day, on how aggressive I want to be. But, you know, for me, the game plan's set. I just can't wait for the week to get started.
And do you remember the first time you played a link-style course, and what was your reaction?
Yeah, it was at the Junior British Open. I ended up winning it. It was at Heswall when Tiger won at Hoylake. And I remember it was about 110 degrees, and I was in rain pants the entire week because I didn't like wearing shorts. So I wore, I mean, since I was part of the U.S. team, there, you know, we were all kind of had shorts, so I wore rain pants. It was so hot, and I'll never forget hitting the first tee shot and being as young as I was, kind of getting up there, and it was like 308. I'm sitting there going, wow, I just hit a drive over 300 yards. And now I'm hitting 2 irons over 360. And I just remember that it was very firm, very fast. Then your short game completely changes from back home. Back home, I always opened the face and kind of did a bunch of shots around the greens. And here, because how firm it is, you're playing the ball on the ground. And I think that was the hardest thing I had to get used to, was how far the ball was going, but also, you know, kind of changing my thought process on chipping around the greens. Sometimes it was putting, sometimes it's, you know, hitting 7-iron and just kind of running the ball, but you're not hitting any high flops. It's almost impossible. So that's something that I think I had to adapt to really quickly, and it's something I remember. I was like, wow, this is insanely firm. And I mean, even being, you know, I was in San Antonio at the time, where I was living, even hottest part of the summer, greens and fairways weren't that firm. I mean, it's just crazy.
Alistair at the back, please.
Hi, Patrick. You talked about creating the kind of family culture within the US team, but one of the other changes we saw at Hazeltine was a kind of passion for it. Do you feel that what you did at Glen Eagles in 2014 helped to change that? You gave a lead to have a kind of more Poulter-like approach to the whole thing.
I mean, I would hope it would help. It's hard to tell. I mean, I would think it would definitely help the guys kind of want to go out and win a little bit more and play better. Whether you're playing really well or not playing great, just anytime you can get that positive energy from one of your teammates or something like that, it helps pick up the team. And, I knew coming over, and I knew the record that U.S. had over here in foreign soil wasn't very good at the time, and I knew how well I was playing, and I knew we had a big wall to try to climb in 14, and with how we kind of were playing and kind of get started, I thought if I could show as much energy as possible and play as well as I did, that I might be able to pick up my team, we might be able to get going, get something going on Sunday, and it's just we ran into a team that was playing really well, and we're unable to do it. But I felt like that kind of feeded into 2016, and when you lose like we did in 14, and then you have basically a completely change in kind of system that the team wanted to do, the players didn't want to let the system or the team or the country down in 16 back home. So I just think as a unit, the whole group, we were all very determined and very focused to go out and play our best and play some solid golf. And with that, when you're that determined and you're that passionate to play well, and when you start playing well, it just showed all the emotional show, and I think that was the biggest difference.
Well, Patrick, thank you for joining us this afternoon, and best of luck this week. Thank you.
Thanks.